Yr Wyddfa or Snowdon is the highest peak in England and Wales. Standing at 3,560 feet, it is present within the heart of Snowdonia or Eryri National Park. It has got several steep hiking paths including the famous Llanberis path. However, did you know it also has a mountain railway which allows you to reach the summit in a train? Train to the summit was first proposed in 1869. However, it was in 1894 that the construction of the railway tracks was first started, and it took 14 months for 150 workers to finish setting up the tracks for this mountain railway. If you're planning to take a train up Mount Snowdon, then go ahead and watch this video where I will be sharing not only my experience but also tips related to booking your tickets and parking and a lot of other things, all of which made my experience super great. First of all, let's talk about how to reach here. Now, the Snowdon Mountain Railway starts from Llanberis station. Llanberis is easily accessible by both buses as well as trains, and you can take either of those options. However, if you have the option of getting your own car, there are several areas where parking is available. All you need to do is reach about an hour early so that you are well in time for the cinema presentation, for collecting your tickets, maybe even grabbing a cup of coffee. So if possible, go ahead, get your car, because the view along the way is amazing, and even though the roads are narrow and winding, it is still a super fun experience to drive. In order to get the tickets for the train, it is a good idea to pre-book your tickets, because although you can buy the tickets at the station itself, it can get crowded and trains do tend to sell out. For convenience, it is actually preferable to book online. On the official website, you can choose your train timing, see what the pricing is, and add any extras that you would like. However, one thing you should note is that the trains up till the summit go only after May. However, the spring train services start as early as end of March. So if you visit early in the season, you can go only up till Clogwyn station, which is about 3/4 of the way up the mountain. Now, we visited on the 28th of March, which was literally the first day the train services had started, and so we could go only up till Clogwyn station. There are basically two types of train engines which are available. One is a traditional diesel engine and the second is a heritage steam engine, and you can go ahead and choose whichever one you would like to go on. Now, the trains are only available till mid-October, after which the train services are shut down for winter and then they restart again during spring. Tickets can be bought as a round trip ticket where the train takes you up to, say, Clogwyn station or up to the summit, and then you can spend about half an hour over there and then you take the return train journey back. Or it can be bought as a single one-way ticket which will take you up to either Clogwyn station or up to the summit, which is Eryri. You can choose to hike down. However, please note that you cannot take a single ticket to come back down if you have hiked up in the first place. Now, the journey, if you are planning to go up till Clogwyn station alone, would be somewhere around 1.5 hours. It's about 45 minutes for the train to travel up, about half an hour of visiting time, and 45 minutes for the downward journey. If you're planning to go up till Eryri, which is the summit, the total time duration would be around 2.5 hours. Only assistance animals are allowed on the train, and it is important that you inform the people there beforehand. You have to arrive at least an hour early before your planned journey, because one, you need time to park your car and collect your tickets from the ticketing booth, and secondly, you are expected to watch a cinema presentation at the theatre, which takes about half an hour in itself, so make sure you arrive in time. Also, it is a good time to visit the cafe, grab a hot coffee, or just use the restroom services which are available at the station at this time, because after boarding, those options would not be available to you. It is a small station, but it is well equipped for visitors. Boarding the train is a fairly straightforward process. The seating arrangements are 4 people in a row. The middle seats don't have any window access, obviously, so if possible, go ahead and choose a window seat for the best experience. Most railways use simple adhesion of the rail wheels to move the train along the track. However, in the case of mountain trains, because of the steepness of the track, it means that a simple adhesion would not work. The trains here use a tooth rack between the running rails and providing a cog pinion on the locomotive. In this way, the locomotive can crawl up the steep gradients. As I said, the journey to Clogwyn station takes about 45 minutes and you are expected to remain seated, not stand for taking any photographs. So your experience of the scenery might depend on where you are seated, on which side, and whether you're in the middle or towards a window seat. During the upward journey or the downward journey, you tend to pass waterfalls and you can see a lot of people walking on the steep hiking paths. I visited in March and it was quite cold because it was still the beginning of spring at that point of time. There is a great temperature difference between the Llanberis village and the summit. The temperature in the village when we started our journey was around 12 degrees Celsius, and the temperature at Clogwyn station when we arrived there was closer to -4 degrees Celsius. So make sure you carry warm clothing and footwear as well as gloves, caps. At Clogwyn station, we got approximately 30 minutes to explore, take our photographs and just take in the views. However, it is quite a small area and it does tend to get super crowded. Honestly, it's too cold to stay out for long. Also, this stop does not have any washrooms or refreshment areas. So just make sure that you hit the washrooms before you board the train. Now, on our return, we had taken the Welsh cream for two experience when we were booking our ticket, and it was quite delicious. The cold definitely made me hungry, so I was glad to have the box with me. Finally, let us talk about who the experience is for. Let's start with the pros. Honestly, anyone who does not want to hike the entire day or someone who is traveling with elderly people or with children, this is a great option. It is not only safe and convenient, but it also keeps you protected against the elements and just makes it a much more comfortable journey. Also, if you're on a tight schedule, if you need to travel to some other place, this gives you an idea about the exact amount of time you will be spending in the area. Some of the cons according to me are there is a slight amount of crowding, especially within the train, and it can get noisy and that can affect your experience a bit. Also, the lack of any kind of washroom facilities at Clogwyn station does make it quite difficult. However, if you're traveling up to the summit, Ford Eryri is a visitor center and it definitely has refreshments as well as washrooms available over there. However, if you're only traveling up till the Clogwyn station, which is 3/4 of the distance, you will definitely feel the lack of any restroom facilities. Overall, the Snowdon Mountain experience is both convenient and accessible. However, it is important that you keep your expectations realistic. For one thing, the views are limited if you're traveling only up till the Clogwyn station because it's a very small viewing point and it can get a bit crowded. Another thing, when the train is coming down the path, if there is a train which is coming up along the same track, the train going down needs to be on the side track and wait for the train which is coming up to pass before it can continue with its downward journey, and this can feel slightly annoying. Also, the return journey can feel a bit repetitive, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video and do share your experience of the Snowdon Mountain Railway as well. And if you've been on any of the hiking paths, I plan to go hiking the next time I visit Mount Snowdon. And if you guys are planning a trip to North Wales, you can go ahead and check out a couple of my videos on the same so that you get some ideas, and I would love to know where all you visited as well.